Close your eyes. Let the day fold itself and grow quiet at the edges. Tonight, we'll walk a slow path through an idea that began as a whisper on message boards and in minds that like puzzles. It's the story of how a kind of money was invented without a mint, without a vault, and without a single person in charge. Not a loud story, no parades, no drums, just a steady hum of code and conversation that grew into something people could use. Long before the name existed, there were clues scattered like seeds, ways to sign messages so they couldn't be forged, ways to make a problem hard to solve but easy to check, ways to keep a list that everyone can read and no one can secretly change. The dream was simple to say and difficult to build. Value that could move across the internet as naturally as a note passed from hand to hand, with trust placed in math and openness, not in a gatekeeper. The people who chased this dream liked late nights, black coffee, and quiet arguments. They also liked the idea that privacy could be kind, that choice could be calm, and that rules could be clear. This is a bedtime story about them, and about the design that slowly took on a gentle heartbeat, one block after another, as the world slept. Imagine a table by a small window after rain. On it, a notebook, a fountain pen, and a puzzle. The puzzle says, "Please prove you did a little work before you speak." You do the work. You show the proof. Your voice is allowed through. That is the spirit of proof of work, not to exhaust you, only to slow the flood of noise so good faith can be heard. Years before our story's main character arrived, technologists tried that idea to tame junk email. Solve a modest riddle, then send your message. The network would accept it because the work was visible. Elsewhere, people sketched how digital coins might exist without a central ledger. They pictured a community notebook, open on the table, where everyone could see each line added. The trouble was keeping the pages in order. If two people tried to add different lines at once, who decided which came first? If someone tried to spin the same coin twice, how would the notebook notice? Many attempts wandered close and then drifted away again, like boats turning back in fog. Still, each sketch taught something. How to sign your name, how to show effort, how to share a record. The table by the window stayed set, waiting for a design that could bind these ingredients into a calm, sturdy loaf of bread. In the autumn of 2008, while the wider world worried over banks and balance sheets, a short paper appeared on a small mailing list. It carried a pseudonym as simple as a stone: Satoshi Nakamoto. The paper described a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, which is like a long way of saying, "Let's keep our notebook together." The trick was elegant. Arrange the notebook into blocks of transactions. Seal each block with a proof of work, and link every block to the previous one so that all the pages hold hands. If two pages appeared at once, the network would not argue. It would wait. The longer chain, the one with more honest work, would become the story everyone believed. Cheating would be like trying to rewrite yesterday's newspaper while the presses kept rolling. You would need more printing presses than the rest of the world. And even then, you'd always be catching up. Satoshi's paper was brief, steady, and careful. It did not promise riches. It promised a method, open participation, public verification, and a gentle bias toward honesty. Because lies are expensive when truth is cheaper. January 3rd, 2009. A winter day becomes an evening. An evening becomes a moment when code runs and a first page is written. The Genesis block is mined. Block 0, the first stepping stone on a bare path. In its data, a line from that day's news is tucked like a pressed leaf, marking the time and hinting at why such a design might be useful. No horns, just a line of text, a clever stamp, and a quiet beginning. 6 days later, the software is shared. People download it the way you might invite a friend to help stitch a quilt. Each person who runs the program becomes a node at the quilting frame, checking stitches, adding squares, agreeing on which piece goes next. Not many join at first. All beginnings are small, but the heartbeat starts anyway. A soft 10-minute rhythm between pages, like a tide that comes in and goes out on schedule. Somewhere out there, fans whir on a desk. Somewhere, a screen glows a calm blue. A new ledger opens its eyes and keeps them open. In those first weeks, the network is a village. The names are mostly screen names and the tone is neighborly. People read the code, share notes, and try small experiments. A transaction is sent from one friend to another, and the numbers change where they should. The page turns. No bank approves it, no office stamps it. The approval comes from the network itself. Dozens of ordinary machines performing the same gentle checks. The coins in those early pages feel like shells at low tide. Pretty, perhaps useful later, but mainly collected for the pleasure of the walk. Miners gather them without hurry. The block reward, fresh coins granted to whoever seals a page, is generous in the beginning. That generosity is not careless. It is planned, like a garden seeded thickly, so the young plants have company. What no one can see yet is how the garden will look in 10 years or 20. For now, the village hums. Curiosity leads, and the path is soft beneath their feet. Let's step closer to the mechanism. Slowly, the way you lift a watch to your ear. Every transaction says, from this address to that one, this much value, signed with a secret key. The signature is not a scrawl. It's a mathematical handshake that cannot be faked without the key. Addresses are like gentle post office boxes, public enough for mail to arrive, private enough that only the holder with the key can open them. Transactions collect in a basket. A miner lifts the basket, adds a timestamp, and searches for a small golden answer, a number that makes the basket summary begin with enough zeros. Finding that answer takes many tries. Checking it takes a single glance. When the answer is found, the miner proposes a new page. The other nodes look, nod, and copy the page into their own books. The basket is emptied. The heartbeat continues. Notice the grace, hard to forge, easy to verify, work to propose, little work to trust. The ledger grows outward like a tree adding rings, slow, public, and calm. Let's step closer to the mechanism, slowly, the way you lift a watch to your ear. Every transaction says, from this address to that one, this much value, signed with a secret key. The signature is not a scrawl. It's a mathematical handshake that cannot be faked without the key. Addresses are like gentle post office boxes, public enough for mail to arrive, private enough that only the holder with the key can open them. Transactions collect in a basket. A miner lifts the basket, adds a timestamp, and searches for a small golden answer, a number that makes the basket summary begin with enough zeros. Finding that answer takes many tries. Checking it takes a single glance. When the answer is found, the miner proposes a new page. The other nodes look, nod, and copy the page into their own books. The basket is emptied. The heartbeat continues. Scarcity is part of the watchwork. New coins are created on a schedule that does not speed up when more hands reach for the basket. Every few years, the reward for sealing a page gently halves. The stream narrows. The river remains. This tapering is not cruel. It is simply predictable. It tells participants, if you're planning a long journey with this system, pack for steadiness. Alongside scarcity sits a second balance wheel called difficulty. If many miners arrive and the puzzle becomes too easy, the network quietly tightens it. If miners leave and the puzzle drags, it loosens. It checks itself every so often, like a clock corrected at noon by the sun. No supervisor is needed. The rules are written where everyone can read them, and the code keeps time. Between the halving and the difficulty adjustment, the ledger learns to breathe. In, out. Neither rushed nor lax, always finding its center again. Scarcity is part of the watchwork. New coins are created on a schedule that does not speed up when more hands reach for the basket. Every few years, the reward for sealing a page gently halves. The stream narrows. The river remains. This tapering is not cruel. It is simply predictable. It tells participants, if you're planning a long journey with this system, pack for steadiness. Alongside scarcity sits a second balance wheel called difficulty. If many miners arrive and the puzzle becomes too easy, the network quietly tightens it. If miners leave and the puzzle drags, it loosens. It checks itself every so often, like a clock corrected at noon by the sun. No supervisor is needed. The rules are written where everyone can read them, and the code keeps time. Between the halving and the difficulty adjustment, the ledger learns to breathe. In, out. Neither rushed nor lax, always finding its center again. As the village grows into a town, a new habit forms, running a node. Anyone with a modest computer can keep a full copy of the ledger and check each new page. Think of it as a neighborhood library where everyone keeps the same book. If someone shows up with a chapter that doesn't match, the librarians don't argue. They simply point to the edition that most others have, the one with the most careful printing, and say, "We'll keep this version, thank you." Consensus sounds grand, but here it is gentle. Whichever valid chain has the most honest work becomes the common history. No meeting is needed, no vote is taken. Every node reads the same rules and reaches the same conclusion. That sameness is not dull. It is comforting, like finding your favorite story printed faithfully wherever you go. The book thickens. The librarians shelve it with care. No one owns the shelves. Everyone owns the reading. The story of any tool is also the story of its users. A programmer sends a test payment for the joy of seeing numbers move. A small community experiments with tipping. Coins for a useful post, coins for a bug fix, coins for an idea that helped a stranger. The amounts are small. The feeling is large, not because the coins make anyone rich, but because a path opens where there had been bramble. Value crosses a border without papers. Value crosses a night without waiting for morning. One spring day, someone trades a handful of coins for dinner. 2 pizzas arrive. The ledger records the transfer with the same calm tone it gives any transfer at all. There is no extra ink for novelty, no confetti. Still, the room feels different. A piece of code, once theoretical, now has the warmth of garlic and bread. The story grows a smile you can taste. Later, people will mark that date with jokes and cake. But the point is simple. A tool lives when it is used. As the village grows into a town, a new habit forms. Running a node. Anyone with a modest computer can keep a full copy of the ledger and check each new page. Think of it as a neighborhood library where everyone keeps the same book. If someone shows up with a chapter that doesn't match, the librarians don't argue. They simply point to the edition that most others have, the one with the most careful printing, and say, "We'll keep this version, thank you." Consensus sounds grand, but here it is gentle. Whichever valid chain has the most honest work becomes the common history. No meeting is needed. No vote is taken. Every node reads the same rules and reaches the same conclusion. That sameness is not dull. It is comforting, like finding your favorite story printed faithfully wherever you go. The book thickens. The librarians shelve it with care. No one owns the shelves. Everyone owns the reading. From time to time, disagreements arise. How large should a page be? How fast should it turn? Nearly every craft has such questions. The width of a violin's neck, the balance of a chef's sauce. The community discusses, proposes, tests. Sometimes 2 paths are tried at once, and the project learns by walking both. You might hear the word fork, but think instead of a river parting around an island, each side calm, each serving those who prefer it. What matters for sleep is this: the main current continues. People who keep the original rules keep the original name, and the pages keep turning. This is not a tale of feuds. It is a tale of maintenance, of gardeners pruning in different styles, of carpenters using different joints, always with the same respect for wood. And throughout, the heartbeat does not speed for debate or slow for praise. Every 10 minutes, another ring in the tree. From time to time, disagreements arise. How large should a page be? How fast should it turn? Nearly every craft has such questions. The width of a violin's neck, the balance of a chef's sauce. The community discusses, proposes, tests. Sometimes two paths are tried at once, and the project learns by walking both. You might hear the word fork, but think instead of a river parting around an island, each side calm, each serving those who prefer it. What matters for sleep is this: the main current continues. People who keep the original rules keep the original name, and the pages keep turning. This is not a tale of feuds. It is a tale of maintenance, of gardeners pruning in different styles, of carpenters using different joints, always with the same respect for wood. And throughout, the heartbeat does not speed for debate or slow for praise. Every 10 minutes, another ring in the tree. Let's linger with keys for a moment, because they are quietly magical. A private key is a long secret, like a poem you never read aloud. From it, a public key and an address can be derived, an open mailbox that invites funds. When you wish to pay, your device signs a message that only the holder of that secret could have produced. The network nods. The coins move. The page is sealed. No identity card is required. No biography is stored. The proof is in the signature itself. People learn to keep their secret safe. A phrase of words written down with care, a metal plate tucked away, a paper folded and placed where weather cannot find it. Backups are not exciting, but they are an act of kindness to your future self. In this system, self-custody can feel like tending a small garden by the back door. Modest, practical, quietly satisfying. If you misplace a key, the network cannot unlock the gate for you. The rules are impartial. With time, users learn a gentle respect for that kind of finality. Mining, too, changes its shoes over the years. What began with ordinary computers becomes specialized chips designed only to turn the puzzle over and over with measured patience. Warehouses fill with hum, much of it in places where electricity is abundant and cool air helps. Think of them not as factories in the old sense, but as rooms full of steady metronomes, each one listening for the right click. From far away, it can sound like extravagance. From up close, you notice the thriftiness that grows over time. Better cooling, better placement, better use of stranded energy where no one else was tapping the river. There are debates about impact and improvements. There are experiments with timing, layouts, and sources. The system is agnostic about motive and geography. It simply rewards the cheapest honest work, wherever that work lives. And always, the puzzles exist to protect the pages, to make rewriting the past harder than accepting the present. Tools earn their keep when real people find steady uses for them. A family member sends value home across an ocean and doesn't wait for bank hours. A small workshop is paid on a weekend and still gets confirmation within the hour. A traveler loses a wallet but not the words that can recreate it later. None of this is flashy. It is kitchen light ordinary, the way a kettle boils every morning. There are also times when the tool is not the best choice, and that is fine. Fees may rise when many hands reach for the basket at once. Prices measured in other currencies may flutter like curtains in a breeze. Wise users keep other tools on the counter. Bank transfers, cards, cash, choosing what suits the task. In that sense, the invention does not demand devotion. It invites participation. And in quiet corners, there are people who simply enjoy the idea. An open ledger, a common clock, a fair rulebook that anyone may read. Sometime after the work is well underway, the author steps back. Or perhaps there was more than one author. Perhaps the mask is part of the message. Either way, the code has grown past any single steward. Others hold the brooms and oil the hinges. When improvements are proposed, they are read aloud in the open and accepted only when many eyes agree. This is slower than royal decree and better for sleep. The untouched coins associated with the origin remain untouched. Their stillness is a kind of punctuation, a quiet period at the end of a generous sentence. Whether the inventor is gone or simply watching is an unsolved riddle. The riddle matters less than the gift, a thing left in the town square with a note that says, "Use if useful, amend with care." And so the square fills with people spreading blankets, brewing tea, comparing notes, and keeping the pages turning. Let's revisit the chain itself, but softer, like walking the same path at dusk. Each block contains a bundle of transactions and the fingerprint of the block before it. Change a single line in an old block, and all the fingerprints after it would be wrong. To make them right again, you'd need to recreate the honest work of every page that followed, and then catch up with the current page as it arrives. That cost is the guard at the door. Meanwhile, regular users do no such heavy lifting. They simply check the work and carry on. They can leave for a week and return, and the book will be waiting, thicker and orderly, the same in every library. That sameness is the comfort. You can sleep through the night, and the clock will keep time without you watching. This, too, is part of the invention. A way for strangers to agree on yesterday and today without asking permission. Around the halfway mark of our hour, let there be a gentle interlude. No instruction, only an invitation. Find your breath and count in a slow, friendly way. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold for a word you love. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Imagine lights blinking softly in far-off data centers. Then imagine the same quiet blinking on a single laptop in a small apartment. One system, many rooms, all listening for the next small click. If a thought visits, give it a chair. If it insists on speaking, let it whisper. If it grows drowsy, cover it with a corner of the blanket and let it rest. The story will be here when it wakes. The heartbeat continues either way. When you're ready, we'll continue. Layers appear like gentle footpaths beside the main road. Some are meant for many small payments that settle quickly and then fold into the main book later, like receipts tucked into a ledger at day's end. Some are meant for privacy, some for speed, some for convenience. They do not replace the core. They lean on it the way a porch leans on the house. It is pleasant to sit there on warm evenings. The idea of layers is not unique to this invention. The Postal Service has letters and parcels and couriers. Cities have sidewalks and avenues and trains. A strong foundation allows many styles of travel above it. So too with a chain of blocks. Keep the base simple and trustworthy, and people will build their own comforts on top. Wallets that feel like familiar apps. Channels that feel like tabs at a friendly cafe. Underneath, the same rulebook, turning its pages at the same measured pace. Some nights, conversation turns to philosophy. What does it mean to have rules without a ruler? The answer is not political here, it is mechanical. The rules are in the code. The code is public. Anyone can run it or not. If many choose to run it, the network has life. If many stop, it becomes a pleasant chapter in the history of ideas. Consent is renewed each time a computer starts the software, and each time a person chooses to use it. That gentleness, opt in, opt out, matters. It lowers the temperature. It allows people who disagree to do so without trying to seize a throne that does not exist. There is no palace, only a book on a table and a town that finds it useful to keep that book current. The quiet radicalism is not in shouting. It is in showing that open coordination can work at scale, with incentives aligned like rocks in a stable cairn. The cairn stands without mortar because each stone is placed with care. Let's talk about time. In this system, time is measured by blocks, not by seconds. The average is 10 minutes, but like waves, some arrive sooner, some later. Over many hours, the average holds. For users, this becomes a rhythm they can plan around. How long to wait for confidence? How many confirmations feel like a settled fact? For miners, time becomes a dance between electricity, hardware, and luck. Elsewhere, different clocks tick. Bank ledgers close for the night. Settlement waits for Monday. Transfers pause for holidays. Here, the clock keeps its own counsel. It does not know about weekends. It does not tire. If you wake at 3 in the morning and send a small payment, the network yawns, nods, and carries it with the same unhurried care it gives at 3 in the afternoon. You may sleep, and the book will turn its page without you. Security in this place is built from 3 threads braided together. First, cryptography. Signatures that cannot be forged without the key. Second, work. Puzzles that take enough effort to deter mischief. Third, distribution. Many copies of the book in many places, so no single mishap erases history. Each thread is strong, the braid is stronger. No system is perfect, and this one is honest about the trade-offs it makes. Slower than swiping a card, stronger against forgetfulness. Sometimes costly when crowds gather, reliably neutral about who may participate. The gift is predictability. What it promises, it keeps from one sunrise to the next. That is often what we want at bedtime, something that says, I will behave tomorrow as I behaved today. Over the years, new countries learned the taste of this idea. A shop in a quiet neighborhood puts a small sign in its window. A freelance translator adds an address to an invoice. A family teaches an older relative how to scan a simple code with a phone. It is not everywhere. It does not need to be. It is enough that it can be anywhere the internet reaches. In some places, the idea changes how people think about saving. In others, it changes how they think about sending. Plenty will decide it is not for them, and that is part of the calm. There is no campaign, only an invitation. Like learning a second language, it is there when you want it, and it is fine if you never do. The network does not mind. It carries what it is given and rests when it is not. When big institutions notice, they arrive slowly, like ships easing into a harbor. Accountants ask careful questions. Regulators write outlines. Banks build small bridges to test the weight. None of this is bedtime material, so we mention it only to say the story widened. The open book stayed open, and those who needed more columns and footnotes copied it in ways that satisfied their work. Meanwhile, ordinary users continued to do ordinary things. Back up a phrase, send value to a friend, receive a payment from a client. The macro and the micro coexist the way a city's skyline coexists with the contents of a single kitchen drawer. A person opens the drawer for a spoon, and the skyline keeps its quiet. We take another breath, and the clock adds another ring. If you're still awake, we'll end with a long, gentle coast. Picture the network at night. Scattered lights in apartments, a few larger rooms humming softly, a million phones sleeping with small wallets inside them like folded notes. Every 10 minutes or so somewhere, a miner finds the number that fits. The page turns. Librarians nod, copy, and shelve. Somewhere, a person receives a small payment and smiles because tomorrow's errand is now easy. Inhale to 4 and imagine a chain of islands, each one a block, each one connected by bridges of proof. Exhale to 6 and watch the water between them smooth out. Inhale and hear a key click in a lock. Exhale and watch a signature bloom and settle like ink finding its edges on good paper. Let your shoulders fall, let your jaw soften. The system keeps time. You do not have to. Now, the softest part. No new facts, only drift. The ledger is a book that writes itself as people live and trade and thank one another. The book is honest because honesty is cheapest here. The scarcity is calm because the schedule is known. The identity of the author is not required because the readers agree on each page together. What began as a short paper became a long practice, kept by thousands of quiet hands. If you wake later, the heartbeat will still be there, blocks arriving like slow waves on a forgiving shore. If you sleep straight through, the dawn will greet you with the same rules you left behind, the same addresses, the same balances, the same invitation to participate or to pass by. Close your eyes. Somewhere, a fan turns like a small wind. Somewhere, a light blinks and goes still. The page turns. The story continues. Good night.